All right, well, excited, happy, thrilled to be back. It's been a little bit of a crazy beginning of the year. We have a lot of people. I wanted to bring that up because I can't help it. I can't help myself. But the fact that we have so many great artists leaving us in the last, I don't know, maybe 2 months. It's been just something that it's thinking about my father. Of course, he passed away a little bit over a year. And seeing all these great artists passing is just sad, but we have to remember that we have their legacy. But I want to give a note to David Bowie, who was a great artist, a great musician, and an inspiration for so many. It's something, you know, to really think about. Even Alan Rickman, the great actor, British actor, he passed away too at only 68. And today, the famous writer Harper Lee, author of the famous book To Kill a Mockingbird, she died at 89. So you kind of like learn to live and appreciate what you have. Live present and live now, because bottom line, we don't know when it's going to be our last day. And it's just a sense of awareness, and I guess being present and grateful with the Lord above and what we have. If we have mentors, if we have good family, if we have a sister or a brother or a father or a mother, somebody like Gloria Messer, who's my technical director, she's here every single week. People like Esteban Quesada Vizcaíno back home. He's an amazing cinematographer, editor. He collaborates with the show on the weekly basis. People like Barbara Jimenez as well, Charles and Alex, Ignacio Guevara. I mean, it's just that you learn to be present and be grateful with your team, because today we're here, but we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So I just wanted to bring that up. But tonight I have a very special guest. An interesting man, a musician, an artist, a composer, a drummer, Christian Finger. He's in the house.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, Sissy. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
Pleasure is mine.
Yeah, my sister was telling me all about you, and she obviously she can't help to keep Mercy. It's my sister's name. She keeps bragging because I see her studying and practicing and says, Sissy, you have to meet this guy. You have to meet this man. He's an inspiration. He's a great teacher. He's a great mentor. And after I got your email with all your resume and your experience, it was a little bit like, oh, wait a minute, this man, he's been around, right?
A little bit.
A little bit. You've been traveling all over the world.
Yeah, I like to travel and also lived in several countries. So I like to take in the different cultures, different points of views, how people live, how they create their environment, and of course also the nature of the countries that I visited, and the music, the language, the food.
Right.
I think it's important to travel, to broaden your horizon, and see how other people live their life.
Right, that's well said. Well, let's go back to the beginning. We have a lot to cover. Like I said, when you were sending me your email, I was just, because it's a lot of detail. It's so much work. You have done so much work that you have to like go little by little. But I want to go back to the beginning, your upbringing, your background. You were born in Germany, raised in Germany.
Yes.
So I want to talk a little bit about that and your family, your mom, your dad, a little bit of your background.
Sure, yeah. Well, I was born in a small city like 80 miles north of Cologne. A lot of Americans are familiar with Cologne. It's a beautiful cathedral. It's a touristic travel destination. It's like 80 miles north of that. And I was born into a kind of like artistic household. My father was an architect who was also very, very interested in modern art and art history. And for him, it made sense to combine that with architecture, like to have the knowledge. And his knowledge was phenomenal. And so we had like really great paintings on the wall.
Nice.
Or he would take us to art exhibitions. In fact, he was actually running as a hobby an art gallery in my hometown.
Oh, nice.
And it's funny, next week I'm traveling to Germany and I'm gonna have a concert in that art gallery. My father passed away 30 years ago.
How many years ago?
30 years ago.
Oh,
so I was very young.
It still hurts a lot, right?
It does.
You kind of learn to live with the pain.
Yes, it is definitely a huge cut. It's like before and after.
That's the event, we say, right?
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
It's before and after. It's just no way around it, at least for me and for you.
Yeah.
So it's I'm excited, to go back, because when I was a little kid, I was there when they had an art gallery opening, and I would like serve orange juice or something like that.
Nice.
Or I would watch him putting up some pictures on the wall and stuff like that. So I'm going back there next week, so that's a nice thing. And it's funny though, so music was not so big in our household. I mean, my older brother was listening to some cool stuff. So I shouldn't say that. He was a big inspiration, and he started to play guitar. And then when I turned 12 or 13, I just heard a band. So they were rehearsing in our basement, and I saw the drum set. And of course, the instructions were don't touch the drums. That was a waste of time to say that, because I still remember to this day the moment I go in the basement. Our basement is dark, right? And in the left corner is that black drum set. I will never forget that. That's when it happened.
Right.
And my parents were then very supportive. They got me like a snare drum. That's kind of like the main instrument of a drum set. And I started out on that. And then for my next birthday, I got the next piece and stuff like that. I mean, I got a good teacher. And so it just developed from there. And when I was 16, I was kind of like a protege.
Yes.
I studied. I was still in school, right? So, but in the afternoons, I studied at the local music conservatory or college, like whatever. Like it was like people go to Julia, like on that level.
Yes.
For classical percussion. So I did that
and
parallel
how old
to the
were you
school.
again?
16.
Well, that's quite young.
Yeah, I played like marimba solo concert. In the classical percussion world, you're not just playing the drum set.
Right.
It's like
they teach you like different.
Yeah,
you have to have knowledge, right?
Yeah,
of every single.
Yeah, you have to play timpani and marimba, vibraphone. They're called mallets, and snare drum, and also they have like they set up. There's like percussion setups, maybe like one conga, two tom-toms. Like the composers in the last 100 years or 80 years have been writing a lot of solo literature for percussion.
Right.
So you have to learn all that stuff.
Wow, that's a lot to hold in your brain.
Yes. So it's funny, under the headline percussion, it's such a broad headline. It's like saying rock music. Like you have everything from punk to whatever Genesis to the Sex Pistols, and what I mean. Like this, it's a huge headline, and it's the same in the world of percussion.
Right.
And so I did that, and I finished school, and I did social services. Instead of in Germany, at that time, you had to go to the army. But you could also opt out. You had to go in front of a committee and explain to them why I don't want to be in the army. It's a big deal. So I did that, and then you had to do like a social service thing instead of the army. So I was doing in the morning Meals on Wheels, and in the afternoons I would deliver furniture for people who were looking for asylum in Germany because they had nothing.
How wonderful! How wonderful!
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Sure,
like,
of course it is.
You had the feeling you help people. With the food and furniture. I mean, that's
and
pretty
it's about
existential.
doing and giving. It's about So we often don't think about give, but life doesn't have the same value. When you want something in return, you have to just give it. Just give it away.
Pay it forward.
Pay it forward.
Yes.
Help people out. Work with one another. Work for each other. I truly believe that we can make a better world if we just do what we have to do.
Yes.
And it's nice to have those values when you are young.
Yeah.
In your case, I mean, kind of like a prodigy when you are exposed to all that kind of knowledge. Right?
Yeah, I just got bit by the bug. I mean, I had my grandfather who died before I was born, but he was like, what the family tells you, or like a musical, like not genius, but he would lead the local men's choir. He would play organ, and he was a very intense guy. So, you know, my aunts or my grandma would say, you got that from him. You know, like it skipped one generation. Like my dad was into architecture, not so much in music, but I got hit by it, you know.
Right,
so,
right.
you know how family lore goes, right?
I know.
It's kind of cute to think like that.
But you
know?
have quite a mix in you, right?
Yeah.
Your artistic side and in the way that you think too, much of a thinker.
I hope so. I mean, you know, when the music thing hit, and I was thinking, no, am I going to study that? So I was really like, for a moment on the fence if I'm going to study painting. You know, because I love to paint. Because of the influence that I experienced at home.
Right.
And I love doing watercolors.
That's a tough way to the painting, right? The watercolors. Once you do it, you can't fix it.
Yes, so and you know what? That is the beauty of it.
Right.
Because with oil, as you know, you can go like, okay, 5 months later, which can be also very hip. But you're absolutely right. Watercolor, this is in the moment. In the moment. And you know what? The funny thing is, that is very much like being a musician, especially in the jazz world. Because it's very, very important to be in the moment when you play with other musicians or by yourself too.
Right.
And just keep breathing and be in the moment and listen to what the other guys are doing and then reacting to it.
Sure.
So there, at least you know, improvised music, it's not like oil painting. There's no chance to like fix it.
Right.
At least in a live situation. You know, in the recording studio, you can, you know, like do some stuff, but I'm talking about the live situation. And it's a big challenge.
Yes,
whereas in other music styles, like, I don't want to put them down. That's what I mean. They have different challenges.
They have different
you
challenges,
know, like when you tour with Bruno Mars, which is great music, by the way, you know, the drummer's role is very much different than like a guy who plays in a jazz band drums or a guy who plays percussion or in the New York Philharmonics. It's very, very different, you know.
Yeah.
But they all have their challenges, and you have to be, especially for jazz, like in the moment, because as I said, it's so improvised. Everything can happen sometimes.
Right.
And not to be, I should do this, I should do that, you know, or what is that thing I practiced recently? Let's see the world, you know.
Yes.
You know, that all has to go out of the window. So that you're just like an open vessel, to use a nice word.
That's a nice way to put it. That's
you know, and just let the
it.
inspiration flow. And I'm going to be honest with you, sometimes it doesn't work.
Right.
Sometimes it does work. You know, so that's a good analogy with a watercolor.
Sure. You're a thinker. I can
I'm
tell.
sure if you would like look through Paul Cézanne's watercolors, there's probably stuff you would say, you know, not so happy about that. I don't want to see that in a museum. I don't know. I'm just assuming, you know.
Right.
And a friend of mine just told me a fascinating story about Ludwig van Beethoven, famous composer. So they found old manuscripts from him, drafts, right?
How nice.
And this music ethnologist or scientist, he actually got a little orchestra together and had them perform that you know, those sketches, and they sounded horrible.
You really?
They didn't sound, or probably not horrible, but very conventional.
But not as what
and
you
not
were expecting.
you know, not that exciting, you know, gripping genius, you know. But he went through stages to get there.
Sure.
You know, he never meant them to be heard. It was a process, you know. So that is out there as well. So
sure. Well, I think following the process has a lot of meaning for any artist. And I noticed you run out already water. God, you're thirsty. Are you okay?
I'm okay, yeah. You make me talk so much, Sissy.
Yeah,
so
well, that's
you're such a good listener.
That's good. You know, this is your craft, and you learn to respect. And the more you live and the more you travel, you learn to have respect for each one single human being on this earth. And artists are a special breed.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're a musician, or you're an actor, you're a director, you're a filmmaker, you're an editor, you're a playwright or a poet. This is a craft that requires love, passion, commitment, discipline, talent, yes, talent is always welcome, but the amount of work involved is just,
Yes.
it's got to be always sky high. But you go everywhere. You've been, let's talk a little bit about your experiences. You went to Australia too.
Yes, I lived in Australia for a year.
How was that experience living over there?
That was awesome. I mean,
is that true? The weather is nice. I'm sorry. Every time I think of Australia, I think about the kangaroos and the weather. Perfect weather.
To be honest, I stepped out of the jet right after like a 27-hour flight or so, and what hit me immediately was the light. Speaking of painting, the light of that country is extremely bright, but not in an annoying way, but just so different from what we used in Europe. Right. Or in America, you know, very bright. And so I lived in Sydney, so that with that natural harbor, beautiful natural harbor, it's a very special place on our planet.
It's inspiring for musicians, I guess.
Yes, and I had the fortune, like pretty soon, I play with some, you know, Australian jazz musicians who are really good. So that was beautiful. You know, and also when I was done, you know, with that social service that I mentioned earlier, I actually moved to the Netherlands.
Yes,
and studied there for 3 years. And you know, people sometimes think, you know, Netherlands, Germany, very alike. No. Not at all.
Tell me, what's the biggest differences? Go ahead, bring them on.
Different culture. You just feel that people tick differently. They have different worldviews. They, it's very interesting, you know. And different language, you know, like you know that language, the way we speak language influences the way we think. So I learned Dutch there on the go. I had a Dutch girlfriend.
Good for you. Give me five. Give me five, man. That's good.
As a famous writer, one of the famous writers said, like, the best way to learn a language is on the pillow.
Oh.
Jeffrey Eugenides. The famous writer, he said that, yeah. So I lived in Holland and then came back to Germany, you know, lived there for a while. And then I moved to Australia. I had a girlfriend there. It was kind of like the main reason. Yes. But I felt too, it was time for me to move on, or like I felt there's something else on the horizon. I mean, I did okay in Germany, you know, it's a beautiful country.
It is.
But I felt there's something calling me, and of course her within the picture helped following that, and then, you know, I was in Sydney, and then we both moved actually from Australia to New York.
Okay.
And then the relationship fell apart, and that apparently happens a lot.
It happens, you know, very often.
Yeah, because
part of the
surviving in New York really puts the pressure on and stuff.
A lot of pressure on, a lot.
And so I've been here ever since, you know.
And you like it here?
Yes, I like the music, you know. Like so, when I moved to the Netherlands, so I gave up the classical percussion world, and that was like a jazz conservatory or college, because I felt the jazz and pop music is just more close to my heart than being, you know, working in an orchestra. So once again, I have the highest respect for those guys.
Sure.
And the music they play is breathtaking. You know, I'm a huge classical music fan, because I grew up with that too. You know, in Germany, went to like classical concerts. You listen to Johann Sebastian Bach or organ works in the church, and so whatever. You know, it's just very around there still in a way, in the radio and stuff. It's part of the culture again.
Of course.
And I'm happy about that, to have that heritage. It's a big word, but it, you know. And so back to the thing here in New York, you know, when I was growing up, all the greatest jazz drummers lived in New York. They might have been born somewhere else, you know, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, New Orleans, thank you. That is actually the birthplace for all the stuff we're doing here in terms of drums.
Right.
New Orleans is not only the birthplace for jazz and blues, but also for rock. It informed 2 times in the last century the greatest evolution of American popular music. It's absolutely fascinating
Yes.
because of the mixing there of the cultures is my favorite word for the evening.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
of the blacks with the European music, and then
The
the mixing of it, you know, and then in the 50s again, when rock and roll came up, how the drummers all of a sudden would interpret you know, the jazz rhythms in a different way, and that was the birthplace for rock and roll. You know what I'm saying? You know what came out of that. Both things happened in the same city. It's phenomenal.
Incredible, right?
It is incredible. I'm sure at other places something else was going on,
Sure.
maybe too, but
Something
not to
is-
that extent. You know how they say when an idea is ripe, it can pop up at different places on the earth.
Sure, I truly firmly believe that.
Like you know, like when they developed the car, you know, inventions of car, you know, happened in America, happened in Germany. The plane, the same thing. The
Sure.
time was just ripe for it.
Yes,
You know,
of course,
so that's
of
a
course.
fascinating
But
thing.
greatness, you can find greatness across the street too. You know, sometimes we think that we have to go
Yes.
to another country, to another
Yes.
culture. And God bless the Lord that I decided to come to New York and build my life here and start all over
Is
again.
that in common?
Right, we have that, so we know what it's like. But really, you learn that really God is everywhere, and greatness
Yes.
is everywhere and anywhere. You can find any
I agree.
greatness across the street
I
when you
agree.
least expect it. In the subway, when you see those characters
Yes.
coming by and
Yes.
singing a song,
Yes.
and it was funny. Was a guy on the subway with a little set of drums and said, "I know I'm not Tico Torres, but what the hell? Let me play it." You start banging those.
There are some amazing
They're so good. They're amazing artists.
Absolutely. There's this one guy I saw recently. He was like playing those bucket drums. Guy was killing.
Oh, the guy, I know who he is. I wanna.
Forgot the station, unfortunately, where it was, but that guy was great.
There's a black kid. I don't know if you were referring to the same one. He looks like
Right.
Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
And he got a movie. They used his ability.
Oh, yes,
In a famous
yes.
movie with Gerard Depardieu, Andrew McDonald, called Green Card. He opens.
Ah, okay.
He opens.
Yes.
And he just go on, no. And he gets excited, and he like you literally become somebody else because you.
Right.
It's like when you're drumming, and that's what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
A little bit about what happens to your heart, your mind, your thinking process when you're playing drums.
Right.
Because when you see drummers in action, it's pretty damn exciting to see.
I'm glad you think that.
Right? I mean,
Yeah,
it seems like
this
it's
is
like
a very physical and visual
And
aspect to it, right? It's
sure,
like the
it's
moving
all
of
this-
the arms and
all this energy coming. But I see that kid in the film, and
Yeah.
every time I see him, now he got a family, he got his wife, and he has this little kid
nice.
playing. And
Nice.
you know, and this is a guy who's not a worldwide musician. He's not, you know, and
Yeah.
but the beauty, the art, the skill, the ability, the
Yeah.
poetry, the poetry is there.
Yes.
You know, so
You have like kids in Brazil, you know, have like a Coca-Cola can, and they kick him around in rhythm.
and really, and they create an entire. Yeah, it's incredible, right? What they do.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Because those people grow up, you know, we just had the carnival, so, you know, you might have still those images in your head, like the amount of music and rhythm that is just ingrained because they grow up with that is just fascinating. So Brazil, another phenomenal country for rhythm, and the whole Afro-Cuban thing, of course, you know, Cuba, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful, and the founding fathers of that is all Africa. So I love African music. You know, there's a lot of physicality can be in there, and a lot of soul. You know, and those drum music in Africa, a lot of it was also like really like sacred music. It was dedicated to
religious,
to God, like the Yoruba goddess. Was it a goddess? I'm not 100% sure. So, but what fascinates me about the drums is is a paradigm, right? One thing is to play together with other people and create something. Pars pro toto means the sum is greater than its parts, right? And that's a gorgeous aspect of it. The other one is that for me, developing, it asks on so many levels from me, on an intellectual level, on a physical level. it requires a lot of attention.
Sure.
And a lot of diligence and patience and being determined, determination.
Sure.
Like every instrument, of
Like
course,
everything
you know.
in life.
So I'm not speaking, you know, just about the drums. Everybody has that. You know, I've also played piano. When I started playing the drums, I took piano lessons too immediately, which I'm very happy about. But I did not just have so much time to practice with the piano, you know. So I see the difference of playing piano with the drums.
Yes.
Because with the drums, I really put in a still. I practiced today before I came here.
Yeah,
I put in the work and the time. And you know, the thing is, the funny thing is, and I'm sure like a lot of musicians agree, like once you have like climbed a mountain, you have mastered something, right?
Right.
You can play something you could not play a year before, let's say like this, right? So immediately 4 other mountains there. You know, because this enabled you to see over the hill. So it's actually a beautiful thing because it never stops.
It never stops. It's always a process. You're always learning.
Yes, it never stops.
You never stop learning.
And that's a great thing here in New York. On any given night, you can go like to 20 different jazz concerts or 30. And there's a lot of phenomenal drummers here. So the inspiration just keeps going. You know, I sometimes have to withdraw from it, you know, because it can almost like get overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know, like ooh.
It's crazy.
But to have the opportunity, and what I also love about New York is I had the fortune like to study with some really great masters here.
Yeah.
You know, from different, again, guys with different points of view, how to approach the instrument.
Sure.
And I tried to take the best, what maybe what fits my boat or what floats my boat. You know, but it's great, and also the camaraderie is there. You know, amongst the musicians here in New York, I found there's a strong bond because everybody is kind of like in the same boat. It's freaking hard to survive, to pay the rent.
Sure.
So people feel that, you know, there's. I think I've never experienced really like jealousy or something. I mean, I'm sure it exists and we all go through phases, but basically like the way people treat each other is very supportive.
Yes,
because we're all in the same boat.
As it should be. Oh hell yeah! You see how the credits run so fast? I told you, and it doesn't think. And my belt, I gotta take it out. Don't worry, I'm not taking my clothes off, so let's not panic. We were doing the show, and next thing I know, oh wait a minute. The words were passing by, and the credits went, and half hour went by already.
Really?
I'm not bragging. I'm just saying on the record that we have half hour.
Man, that's amazing.
Right?
That is amazing. How time flies.
Time flies when you're having fun. When you're doing what you're good at. Not bragging again. So let's talk about your.
Are we on now, or are we still?
Oh, we're still going.
Okay.
Yes, I want to keep going. Let's talk a little bit about your work.
So
the words of bliss. I love that.
This is my new record, N Er. It came out like a year ago. It was actually one funny aspect. It was recorded. The bulk of it was recorded one day before Superstorm Sandy hit.
Oh, wow.
October 2013.
Maybe you can, hold on, I'm just not giving you direction. I shouldn't give you,
Laura,
that's the camera. Yeah, that's, Kristen, that's.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, she's.
forward so I can come into it.
That's, maybe you going forward like that.
Okay.
No, stay set, but just like, I'm sorry, I was not.
No, it's good.
Sissy, you take it.
I take it? Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, you see, that's when you're ahead of us, Gloria. Okay, check this out. So, yeah, we can, this is what I'm talking about right here. And interesting the timing of it, right?
Yeah, it was interesting because it really influenced the recording session, but everybody was great, everyone was super professional, but yet it's like when I think back about it, you know, like the bass player got Adam Armstrong, great bass player, you know, for example, he got a call at 3:30 in the afternoon from his wife, oh yeah, we're just getting evacuated because they have a house in Red Hook, Brooklyn, super flat, whoops, you know, the water brings in there. Anyway, it's a nice record. I worked a very long time on it. I wrote all the music. I composed all the tunes, and there's a string quartet on it too, so I wrote that too. And since you mentioned at the beginning about the traveling, This is kind of like a travel log. This CD, it's about places I've been, where I lived, but also places where I have been like imaginary, where I have not been
We're
yet,
all meant to
but
travelers.
where we
travel all the time.
Yeah, in dreams.
Of course
or
we
we
do.
see a report on TV about India, or what, you know, like read a book.
Yes.
So
Go
also
for a walk. The universe is right in your hands, baby. It's not whether you're listening to music, right? If you're listening, or you're going for a walk, or you meet somebody wonderful, or
yeah,
it's like it's wide open. The universe is wide open. And what about the other one over there?
Yeah, this is another band. You know, I don't. Oops, I'm not only having my own band. I play with, of course, with other musicians as a sideman, as they call that in jazz. And I also a member of like a cooperative trio. So that's me and one of the most famous bass players. His name is Harvey S.
Okay.
He's an older gentleman, not that old, but he's been around the block.
And
he's like, I don't know, 500 CDs or something. Famous guy, and a great saxophone player. His name is Tim Armacost. We have a trio, it's called In Trio. And actually we're playing March 24 in Manhattan at a beautiful little venue. It's called The Bar Next Door. It's on McDougal Street.
Oh, I love that store. Oh, there's a place where they got
you
the
go
greatest
downstairs.
crepes.
Sorry?
They have across the street, they got a place where they sell those French crepes, and I love it. That's the best place in town for crepes. I'm sorry. But when are you performing? The 24th of March?
March 24th. It's a Thursday, so it would be great if people come.
Yes.
It's a really exciting trio because we cover a pretty broad spectrum of music. It's because we all come from like different, you know, angles, and then we bring it together and form a try to play a platform, you know. So it's a lot of it's very melodic sometimes. Sometimes it can get a little abstract. Sometimes it can be like super hard swinging, like, you know, like in the hard bop tradition or bebop hard bop tradition. And sometimes it's very lyrical and a little bit more melancholic. So and it's funny with my music, I also try to strive like a balance with that. So that's the beauty about being a jazz musician nowadays. You have so much music at your fingertips, and I try to incorporate different styles without sounding like a supermarket, I hope.
Right.
You know,
No.
okay, I can do this, I can do that.
But this is your art. This is what you do, you know, and it's your process, and it's your learning experience, you know. It's a lot. And what, in terms of like basics for drummers, what's the basic stuff for it? Like basic, not tips, but rules for it when you're learning drums. Like what kind of stuff you have to remember? Like it's a basic stuff. What would you say?
Well, as you can imagine, that's like an issue we could talk also a long time about.
Sure.
There's so many aspects to it, but. I guess one of the main reasons, or the main, not reasons, what's really important is that when you want to play the drums, that you like feel attracted to it and have a chance to try it out and feel if it does something to you. It's not about having technique or being able to play something. No, you're a beginner. It's like being a baby. Nobody expects you to speak when you're like 4 months old, right? So, when I have a total beginner, or let's have a friend over or whatever, I just put him behind the drum set and I gave him like a little rhythm. Or with kids, I have this developed the system like with animal names. It's very playful, and I use it sometimes with grown-ups too, to get them out of that too intellectual mindset. You know, just become a kid again, very playful, and the drums have that possibility to trigger that. It's one part of it, but there's also, of course, you know, the intellectual part of like learning how to read, and then you have to think how to hold the sticks and learn how to count. But it's all like a melange, and listening, very, very important. You know, I sometimes say to my students, "What's the most important part of your body to being a drummer?" Of course, they say the hands. I say no, it's your ears. Because, you know, sometimes the danger is that you forget to listen, you know, with drums. It's like so into it, and they don't realize what goes on around them anymore.
Yes, of course.
But you know, the technique is important, of course. You know, and I try to install that into people. So it's actually funny that the more you get like invigorated and drawn in, the more you will feel, okay, if I work on certain technique, I can actually pull off what I like.
Sure.
You know, so I ask students, you have a favorite recording that you would like to bring in? You know, let's check out the drum beat that's going on that. And again, it can be Deep Purple or Beyonce or Wynton Kelly, you know, or whatever, you know. So it's fascinating. The fascinating thing is then when they bring in a tune, I mean, I also have lots of stuff, but I try to get them involved because it's a motivational thing.
Of course.
And the thing they need to learn to pull it off almost all the time is actually stuff we're already working on. You know, like there's this synchronicity effect a lot of times happening. You
see, you're a thinker, but we have to wrap it up, Christian.
Yeah,
we have to wrap it up.
Too bad.
I know. It was a good time. This is good. As Quinn said, thank you for making the time.
Yeah, very welcome. And one last thing, you mentioned at the beginning David Bowie. I play with Donny McCaslin, who's on the latest record with David Bowie.
Oh, wow.
He's a musical director. He was the leader of the band that did that last record, Black Star, with him. Just seems to be like a huge David Bowie fan, me too. And Donny used to play in my band. It's a phenomenal saxophone player.
Incredible.
So that's again beautiful about New York. You know, all these phenomenal guys there.
Talent is everywhere, baby.
Yes, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's truly everywhere. I just want to thank you for making the time.
Thank you, Sissy.
I wanted to thank my sister, Mercy Cully, my twin, the love of my life. She's a daughter to me, so she's the one who made this possible. So I want to thank my dear sister and Gloria Messer, Alex Romero, Charles Casano, Ignacio Guevara, Esteban Quesada back home for helping and collaborating on the weekly basis. And please, guys, go to our pages. Go to Facebook. Go to the Sissy Gamache on Facebook. Check what we do and how we do it. Put a like. But I don't like asking for likes, but God damn it, just check the work, see it. Post some comment. That's nice. Go to YouTube. Check our pages on YouTube. We have it. We have quite a few shows the last 7 years. So go to YouTube, go to Verizon, go Google the name, Google the show, see the interviews if you can, and post your comments. We're interested in what you have to say. My style is not conventional, and certainly some people, whether they love me or they hate me, not in between, that's okay too. We mix it up, and we're trying to bring an entire variety of different guests. I cover a lot of different guests over the years. Whether it's actors or musicians or entertainers or politicians. I mix it up. We're going to have some interviews coming up very, very soon from Denmark and Sweden. I went to Denmark just a month ago, and I got some interviews with the fighters and my husband, the behind the scenes with Patrick Nielsen, Mickey Nielsen, Otto Wallin, Kai, all these great fighters from the Team Sauerland. And we have, of course, an interview coming from the CEO and artistic director of the Hamlet scene in Lars, which is an incredible time when I went into that castle and we shot and we filmed, and he gave us a history of